Respect is not something you demand, it is something you earn, and one of the most powerful ways to earn it is through composed behavior. In a world where people react quickly, speak loudly, and let emotions take control, the ability to stay calm, controlled, and steady sets you apart. It shows strength. It shows discipline. It shows that you are not easily shaken by pressure or provoked by circumstances. Composed behavior is not about being silent all the time or ignoring what is happening around you. It is about choosing how you respond. It is about maintaining control over your emotions, your words, and your actions, even when situations become challenging. Because anyone can react in anger. Anyone can speak without thinking, but not everyone can stay composed when it matters most. When you carry yourself with calmness and control, people begin to notice. They see that you are not driven by impulse. They see that you are thoughtful in your responses. And most importantly, they see that you respect yourself enough to stay in control. That self-respect naturally leads to respect from others. Respect is not given because you demand it. It is earned because of how you carry yourself. And composed behavior is one of the strongest ways to build that kind of respect in your life. Stay calm, stay powerful. The foundation of respect. There is a quiet kind of strength that does not announce itself with noise or demand attention through force. It moves with control. It speaks with intention. It carries itself with calm, and that calmness, that steady presence, is where real power begins and where respect is built. In life, people are constantly watching how you respond. Not just what you say, but how you carry yourself when pressure rises. Anyone can look strong when things are easy. Anyone can stay composed when life is calm. But the real test comes when things are uncertain, when emotions are high, when challenges begin to push against your patience. That is when your true strength is revealed. Staying calm does not mean you lack feeling. It means you are in control of your feelings. It means your emotions do not control your decisions. You feel everything like everyone else, but you choose how to respond. You choose how to respond. You choose not to let anger speak for you. You choose not to let frustration dictate your actions. That is power. That is discipline. That is strength. When you stay calm, you create a sense of stability around you. People begin to feel that they can trust you because you are not easily shaken. You are not quick to react. You are not unpredictable. You are grounded. And in a world full of chaos, being grounded is a rare and powerful trait. Respect is not something that comes from loud words or aggressive behavior. In fact, those things often push respect away. True respect comes from control, from restraint, from the ability to remain composed when others are losing their balance. When people see that you can handle yourself under pressure, they naturally begin to respect you. There's a reason why calm leaders are often the most respected. They do not panic when things go wrong. They do not lash out when things get difficult. They assess, they think, they respond with clarity. And that clarity is what makes others look to them for guidance. Calmness becomes a form of leadership. You have to understand that your reactions define your reputation. Every time you lose control, you are teaching people how to treat you. Every time you react impulsively, you are showing them what can trigger you. But every time you stay calm, you are setting a standard. You are showing that you are not easily moved, not easily controlled, not easily disturbed. And that is powerful, because when people realize that they cannot control your emotions, they begin to respect your boundaries. When they realize that you do not react to everything, they begin to understand that your energy is not easily accessible. And that level of control commands respect without you ever having to demand it. Staying calm also gives you clarity. When emotions are high, judgment becomes clouded. You may see things differently, react in ways you normally wouldn't, and make decisions that are driven by the moment rather than by wisdom. But when you remain calm, you see things as they truly are. You think clearly, you respond wisely, and that clarity keeps you ahead. There will always be moments in life that try to shake you, situations that test your patience, people that challenge your control. But those moments are not there to break you. They are there to build you. Every situation that tries to push you off balance is an opportunity to strengthen your discipline, to sharpen your composure, to reinforce your power, and the more you practice staying calm, the stronger you become. It starts with small moments, choosing not to react immediately when something bothers you, taking a breath before responding, giving yourself space to think before you act. These small decisions may seem simple, but over time, they build a level of control that becomes unshakable. Because true power is not loud. True power is not chaotic. True power is calm, controlled, and consistent. When you stay calm, you stop wasting energy on unnecessary reactions. You stop engaging in conflicts that do not serve you. You stop allowing other people's behavior to dictate your emotions. And in doing so, you reclaim your power. Respect follows that kind of presence. Naturally, people respect those who are steady. People respect those who do not crumble under pressure. People respect those who can remain composed when everything around them is uncertain. Not because they are trying to impress anyone, but because their behavior reflects strength, and strength is always respected. So when you feel pressure rising, when emotions begin to build, when situations start to test your limits, remember who you are. Take a moment. Stay grounded. Stay in control. Because your calmness is not a sign of weakness, it is a reflection of your power. And when you master that, when you truly learn to stay calm in any situation, you will realize something important. You do not need to prove your strength to anyone. Your calm presence will do that for you. That is the foundation of respect. That is the power of composure. And that is the kind of strength that cannot be taken from you. Once you have it, composure under pressure earns unshakable respect. There is a moment in every life when pressure comes knocking. Not politely, not gently, but with force. It shows up when things are uncertain, when expectations are high, when emotions are running wild, and everything around you feels like it's moving too fast. In those moments, who you are is revealed not by what you say, but by how you carry yourself. Composure under pressure is not just a skill, it is a statement of who you are becoming. Most people fold when pressure rises. They panic, they react, they lose control of their thoughts and their emotions. They allow the situation to dictate their behavior. But the ones who stand out, the ones who earn lasting respect, are the ones who remain steady. They breathe, they think, they move with intention, they don't rush into chaos, they rise above. Composure is not about pretending everything is fine. It is about staying grounded when everything is not fine. It is about acknowledging the pressure without letting it control you. Because pressure will come, that is guaranteed. But how you respond to it, that is where your power lies. When you remain composed under pressure, you send a message without saying word. You show that you are not easily shaken. You show that you are in control of yourself, even when circumstances are not in your control. And that kind of strength, that kind of stability, commands respect. Instantly, people watch how you handle pressure. They may not always say it, but they notice. They notice whether you panic or remain calm. They notice whether you react emotionally or respond thoughtfully. They notice whether you break or hold your ground. And in those moments, your composure becomes your identity. Because pressure does not create respect, it reveals it. There is something powerful about someone who can stay calm while everything around them is intense. That person becomes a source of stability for others. People begin to rely on them, not because they are the loudest, but because they are the most steady. That is leadership. That is influence. That is strength. And the truth is, anyone can stay composed when life is easy. Anyone can appear strong when there is no pressure. But real strength is proven when the weight increases, when expectations rise, when challenges begin to test your limits. That is when composure becomes your greatest asset. You have to train yourself to respond, not react. Reaction is fast, emotional, and often uncontrolled. Response is thoughtful, deliberate, and controlled. When pressure hits, your first instinct might be to react. But strength is found in the pause. In that moment where you choose to think before you act, that pause is powerful. It gives space to regain control. It gives you clarity in the middle of chaos. It allows you to see the situation for what it truly is, instead of what your emotions are trying to make it. And in that clarity, you make better decisions, you speak with purpose, and you act with intention. Composure is also about trust. When you remain calm under pressure, people begin to trust you more. They trust your judgment. They trust your decisions. They trust your ability to handle difficult situations because they see that you are not easily overwhelmed, and that builds confidence in your leadership. Think about the people you respect the most. Chances are, they are not the ones who lose control easily. They are the ones who stay calm, who think clearly, who handle pressure with grace. That is not accidental. That is discipline. That is emotional control. That is strength built over time. And you can build that too. It starts with awareness, noticing when pressure is rising, recognizing how your body and mind respond to stress. And instead of letting that stress control you, you take a step back. You breathe. You ground yourself. You remind yourself that you are in control of your response. Then comes practice. Every time you face a challenging situation, you have an opportunity to strengthen your composure. Every time you choose not to react impulsively, you are building your discipline. Every time you stay calm when it would be easier to lose control, you are reinforcing your strength over time. That becomes who you are. You become someone who does not panic under pressure, someone who does not fold under stress, someone who remains steady no matter what is happening around them. And that presence alone earns respect in every room you walk into. Because people can sense composure. They can feel it. It gives them a sense of security. It shows them that you are capable, that you are reliable, that you are not easily shaken. And in a world full of uncertainty, that kind of presence is powerful. But perhaps the most important thing is what composure does for you internally. It gives you peace. It gives you clarity. It gives you control over your own life. You are no longer at the mercy of pressure. You are in command of how you respond to it. That is freedom. So when pressure comes, and it will come, do not panic. Do not rush. Do not lose control. Stand firm. Stay calm. Think clearly. And respond with purpose. Because in those moments when everything is on the line, your composure is not just being tested, it is defining you. And the stronger your composure, the deeper the respect you earn, not through force, not through noise, but through the quiet, steady power of a mind and spirit that cannot be shaken. Why self-control speaks louder than loud words in your life. There is a truth that life teaches you when you start paying attention, and it is this: loud words do not define strength. Self-control does. Anyone can raise their voice, anyone can argue, anyone can react with emotion, and let their feelings spill over without restraint. But not everyone can hold themselves together when everything inside them is telling them to lose control. That ability, that discipline, that quiet strength, is what sets you apart. Self-control is not about being silent all the time. It is about knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. It is about understanding that not every moment needs your voice. Not every situation needs your reaction, and not every person deserves your energy. When you learn that, you begin to move differently in life. You stop reacting to everything. You start choosing your responses with intention. Loud words may get attention for a moment, but self-control builds respect over time. When people see that you do not easily lose your temper, that you do not engage in unnecessary arguments, that you remain steady even under pressure, they begin to take you seriously. Not because you are loud, but because you are disciplined. There is a kind of power in restraint that cannot be ignored. When you have the ability to respond but choose not to, when you have the words to argue but decide to stay calm, you are showing a level of strength that goes beyond words. That is not weakness. That is control. That is awareness. That is mastery over yourself. In your life, you will face moments that test your patience. People will say things that challenge you. Situations will arise that try to provoke you. And in those moments, your first instinct might be to react, to defend, to prove your point. But real strength is found in the pause. In that moment where you take a breath and decide not to let emotion take the lead. Because when you react without thinking, you give away control. You let the situation decide your response. But when you exercise self-control, you take that power back, you decide how you want to respond, how you want to show up, and who you want to be in that moment. And that choice is everything. People may not always notice your self-control right away. It does not make noise. It does not demand attention. But over time, it speaks louder than anything you could say. It builds trust. It builds respect. It builds a presence that people cannot ignore because they begin to realize that you are not easily shaken, not easily controlled, not easily moved. Self-control also protects your future. When you react in anger, you can say things you regret. When you act impulsively, you can create situations that are difficult to fix. But when you stay in control, you give yourself the ability to think clearly, to choose wisely, and to move forward without unnecessary consequences. That is wisdom, and wisdom is a dad. Lays louder than noise. Think about the people who command respect without even trying. They do not chase attention. They do not argue to be heard. They carry themselves with discipline. They speak with purpose. They know that their actions will speak louder than any words they could force out in the heat of the moment. That is the result of self-control, and you can build that. It starts with awareness, catching yourself in moments where you feel the urge to react, pausing before you speak, taking a breath before you respond, giving yourself the space to think instead of reacting instantly. That small pause can change everything, because in that pause, you regain control. You remind yourself that you are not your emotions. You are not your anger. You are not your frustration. You are the one who observes, who chooses, who decides. And once you step into that mindset, you begin to operate from a place of strength instead of impulse. Self-control also strengthens your character. It builds patience. It builds discipline. It builds emotional intelligence. These are qualities that last longer than any moment of anger or reaction. These are the qualities that shape who you become over time. And the more you practice self-control, the more natural it becomes. You stop feeling the need to prove yourself in every argument. You stop engaging in conversations that do not serve you. You stop reacting to every comment or opinion that comes your way. And in doing so, you preserve your energy for what truly matters. That is power, not loud power, not forced power, but quiet, controlled, disciplined power. Because in the end, people will forget what you said in anger, but they will remember how you handled yourself. They will remember your composure. They will remember your ability to stay in control when others could not. And that is what earns lasting respect. So when the moment comes, when emotions rise and pressure builds, remember this: you do not have to react to everything. You do not have to respond to every challenge. You have the power to choose control over chaos. Choose discipline over reaction. Choose discipline over reaction. Choose self-control over loud words, because in the end, your actions, your restraint, and your ability to stay composed will always speak louder than anything you could ever say. The silent strength behind calm and controlled behavior. There's a strength that does not announce itself, does not demand attention, and does not need validation. It is the kind of strength that lives quietly within you, the kind that shows up in how you carry yourself when no one is watching, the kind that reveals itself when life tests you in ways you did not expect. That strength is calm and controlled behavior, and it is one of the most powerful forces you can develop in your life. Most people associate strength with loudness. They think strength is speaking the loudest, reacting the fastest, or proving a point at every opportunity. But real strength is different. Real strength is measured in restraint. It is measured in how you respond when emotions rise, when pressure builds, when situations push you to your limit. It is in those moments that your true character is revealed. Calm and controlled behavior is not weakness. It is discipline. It is awareness. It is the ability to stand still when everything inside you wants to move, without thinking. It is the ability to pause before reacting, to think before speaking, and to choose your actions with intention instead of impulse. That kind of control does not come easily. It is built over time, through practice, through awareness, and through a commitment to mastering yourself. There is silent strength in staying calm when others are losing control. When people around you are reacting emotionally, when seas are rising and tension is high, your calmness becomes your anchor. It grounds you. It keeps you steady. And while others are being pulled in different directions by their emotions, you remain focused, clear, and in control. That presence alone commands respect. People may not always understand why you stay calm, but they feel the difference. They sense your stability. They recognize that you are not easily shaken. And because of that, they begin to trust you more. They look to you when things get difficult because they know you will not panic, you will not overreact, and you will not lose control. Calm behavior speaks louder than words because it shows consistency. Anyone can say the right thing in a moment, but not everyone can remain consistent in their behavior when pressure increases. When you are calm and controlled, your actions align with your values. You do not change with every situation. You remain steady, reliable, and grounded. That consistency builds trust, and trust builds respect. There will always be moments that test your ability to stay in control. Someone will say something that challenges you. Something will happen that disrupts your plans. You will feel the urge to react, to defend, to respond immediately. But in those moments, your strength lies in your ability to pause, to take a breath, to step back from the emotion and view the situation with clarity, because when you react without control, you often lose more than you gain. You may win the moment, but lose your peace. You may prove a point, but damage your energy. But when you remain calm, you preserve your strength. You maintain your clarity, and you give yourself the ability to respond in a way that aligns with who you are. That is the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is emotional. Responding is intentional. Calm and controlled behavior allows you to choose your resp. Instead of being controlled by your reaction. It gives you the ability to think clearly, to assess situations accurately, and to act in a way that reflects your discipline rather than your emotions. And over time, that discipline becomes your identity. You begin to move differently. You begin to speak differently. You no longer feel the need to engage in every argument or respond to every challenge. You understand that not everything deserves your energy. Not everything requires your attention. And that awareness allows you to protect your peace. Because your peace is valuable. When you are calm, you are in control of your mind. And when you are in control of your mind, you are in control of your life. That is a powerful position to be in. You are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are navigating them with intention. You are not being pushed around by emotions. You are guiding yourself with clarity. That kind of control gives you freedom. Freedom from unnecessary stress. Freedom from impulsive decisions. Freedom from emotional reactions that do not serve you. And with that freedom comes strength. The strength to stay grounded no matter what happens around you. The strength to remain steady in uncertain times. The strength to be the calm in the middle of the storm. And people notice that strength. They may not always say it, but they respect it. They respect your ability to remain composed when others cannot. They respect your discipline, your patience, your control. Because in a world where many people are driven by emotion, your calmness stands out as something rare and powerful. But the most important part is what it does for you. Calm and controlled behavior builds character. It strengthens your discipline. It sharpens your awareness. It helps you grow into someone who is not easily controlled by external forces. And that growth is what shapes your future. So stay calm when it is difficult. Stay controlled when it is challenging. Stay grounded when everything around you is trying to shake you. Because in that silence, in that control, in that steady presence, lies a strength that cannot be ignored, a strength that speaks without words, and a strength that earns respect without ever having to ask for it. How composed actions create lasting influence. There is a truth that life reveals to those who are willing to pay attention, and that truth is simple. Your actions speak long after your words are forgotten. You can talk all day, you can explain, argue, persuade, but if your actions do not align with your words, people will remember your actions. That is where influence is built, not in what you say, but in how you carry yourself when it matters most. Composed actions are powerful because they are deliberate. They are not rushed. not emotional, not reactive. They are thoughtful, intentional, and controlled. When you move with composure, you are showing the world that you are not driven by impulse, that you are not easily shaken, and that you are in control of yourself. And that kind of presence creates a lasting impression. People may not always notice your actions immediately, but over time they begin to feel your consistency. They see that you do not change your behavior based on the situation. They see that you remain steady regardless of pressure. And that consistency builds trust. And trust is the foundation of influence. Because influence is not about forcing people to listen to you. It is about earning their respect so that they choose to listen. And that only happens when your actions reflect discipline, control, and purpose. When people see that you are composed under pressure, that you think before you act, that you respond with intention, they begin to value your presence more. There is a difference between temporary attention and lasting influence. Loud behavior may get attention quickly, but it rarely sustains respect. Composed actions, on the other hand, may not demand attention, but they build something deeper. They build credibility. They build character. They build a reputation that stands the test of time. Think about the people who have had the greatest impact on your life. Chances are they were not the loudest in the room. They were the ones who carried themselves with quiet strength. The ones who remained calm when things were difficult. The ones who acted with purpose instead of reacting with emotion. That is the kind of influence that lasts. Composed actions also show control. And control is a powerful trait because it signals stability. When people see that you are in control of your emotions, your decisions, and your actions, they feel secure around you. They trust your judgment. They respect your ability to handle situations with clarity. And that trust naturally leads to influence. But influence is not something you demand. It is something you build, moment by moment, through your actions. Every time you choose patience over impulsiveness, you are strengthening your influence. Every time you choose discipline over reaction, you are reinforcing your character. Every time you remain composed when others are not, you are setting yourself apart, and over time, those choices add up. Your behavior becomes your reputation. Your actions become your identity. And people begin to associate you with stability, strength, and reliability. That is influence. Composed actions also protect your integrity. When you act without control, you risk saying or doing things that do not align with your values. But when you move with composure, you give yourself the space to stay aligned with who you are. You do not let emotions push you into actions that compromise your principle. And that alignment strengthens your influence even more, because people respect those who stay true to themselves. There will always be moments that test your composure. Moments when things do not go your way. Moments when people challenge you. Moments when pressure builds and emotions rise. In those moments, your instinct may be to react. But strength is found in restraint. Strength is found in choosing to stay composed, even when it would be easier not to. And that choice defines your influence. Because influence is not built in comfort, it is built in pressure. It is built in moments where your composure is tested and you choose to remain steady. Those moments shape how people see you. They determine whether they trust you, whether they follow you, whether they respect you. And when you consistently choose composed actions, something powerful happens. People begin to watch how you handle yourself. They begin to learn from your behavior. They begin to mirror your discipline. Without saying a word, you begin to influence the environment around you. That is the power of leading by example. And that kind of influence cannot be faked. It comes from within. It comes from discipline. It comes from a commitment to staying composed, no matter what happens around you. It is built through consistency, through awareness, and through the decision to always act with intention. So when life presents you with challenges, do not rush. Do not react impulsively. Take a moment. Stay composed. Think clearly. And act with purpose. Because in those moments, your actions are not just responses. They are statements. They are reflections of your character. They are the foundation of your influence, and over time, those composed actions will speak louder than anything you could ever say, leaving behind a legacy of strength, control, and lasting respect. in the end, what people remember Abaway. You to you is not how loud you were, but how you carried yourself when it mattered most. Your composed actions become your signature, the quiet proof of your strength, your discipline, and your character. When you choose control over chaos, patience over reaction, and clarity over emotion, you build something that cannot be easily broken, a lasting influence that lives beyond words. Life will continue to test you. Situations will come that try to shake your balance and pull you into reaction. But every time you stay composed, you are proving to yourself that you are stronger than the moment. You are showing that you can rise above pressure and remain steady, no matter what comes your way. That is where true influence is born. Not in perfection, not in force, but in consistency. In the quiet moments where you choose to respond with intention instead of reacting with emotion. That is what earns respect. That is what builds trust. And that is what leaves a lasting impact on everyone around you. So keep moving with purpose. Stay calm under pressure, and let your composed actions continue to speak for you. Because in the end, that is the kind of influence that never fades.